everybody. Welcome to the pod. Our friend, filmmaker, writer, producer, man of many roles, Nathan Dalton. Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
Would you care to introduce yourself, what you're working on, and where people can find you online?
Yeah, currently, my name is Nathan Dalton. I wear too many hats, far too many hats, and currently I am trying to get this project, Haunted House of Pancakes, away from me. I don't want to work on it anymore. I want to be done with it, and I want people to see it. So,
yeah, it's kind of the curse of the indie filmmaker.
yes, it is. And hey, I recently watched a movie about that we might discuss in an upcoming episode. I currently have Haunted House of Pancakes still on Indiegogo. That is where we raised all of the money to make the movie. Have still spent none of my own money, no one else's money. Just all my family and friends, of course, who I duped into somehow supporting me. And yeah, the best place to find anything about the movie is go onto Indiegogo, Haunted House of Pancakes, and throw us a few dollars. You know, that's the best way to support independent film.
That's right. They brought you into the world. It's the least they can do is fund your vanity projects. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, like the previous, I think that, I don't know if you want to go into it now, but my filmmaking journey is coming from bigger movies. Mm-hmm. From the previous few movies that I've worked with have been, let's say, sub $1 million, but around the $500,000 mark. So we've made a few of those, and then, saw the financial returns from those movies and said, oh, we need to make these movies for 1/10 of the price of this, which unfortunately means that you have to spend
1/10 of the budget, 5 times the return. I'm going to be all right. I'm going to be all right.
I think if we get, a quarter of the return, we'll still be okay.
There you go.
But the shrinking it 10 times is
it is the worst part about indie filmmaking is being like, this is way more math than I signed up for. I thought we were just making cool art, but like you do a lot of math. So we met you at Days of the Dead, right? When we started making our movies again, we went out and Days of the Dead was our first festival, right? Back.
Yeah.
They have a great Indiana festival. Yeah, we were booth mates, right? So we got the cool access. We had a green room where I may or may not have gotten too drunk many times now.
It was open. It was open bar, so they expected that to happen.
And if it's not, just bring your own shit to your hotel room. That's it. That's a pro move. But we were table mates, right, as filmmakers. So we met you there. I thought we'd just start here. We talk a lot about, as indie filmmakers, all the fucking work you do and how little opportunities you feel like you have to interact with audiences. So what do you find rewarding about going to conventions or festivals, or do you at all?
Oh, I love it. I mean, actually, it is my favorite part, and it's the part that I would say to every filmmaker. It's maybe the thing that people sleep on. Is going, if you get your movie finished, submit it to film festivals, not because you want to win anything, nothing like that. You want the film festival to have your movie, and then you go and you forget about that part of it. And you just talk to everyone. You talk to your booth mates. You talk to every single person that comes to your booth. You sell them. You pitch them. We were at the LA Days of the Dead, mm-hmm. and I printed out a stack 500 of the little cards for Haunted House of Pancakes, and I was like one of those Vegas guys trying to sell call girls, where every single person that passed, I'm like, Haunted House Pancakes, Haunted House Pancakes. Do you want to? And then if anyone looked at me, I'm like, I would do the full pitch. You know, it's a Halloween night. There's the things, all the food comes alive. I did it much better than that, by the way. But
I don't know. I was hard. That's all I know.
So
I would invest on this.
Actually, here it is. Haunted House of Pancakes. It's about a demonic possession that takes over a diner on Halloween night and turns all of the food into bloodthirsty creatures out for revenge. I said that 500 times because I passed out every single one of those flyers to people. And then we would get the returns. Like I would see people sending to our Indiegogo, connecting to us, Facebook friends, whatever, word getting out. And just seeing that spread, just like people who are actually like, this sounds interesting. I'll throw a few dollars at it and I'll mention it on social media. And that's honestly the only way that we could do anything, that we got any money.
Yeah, I think it's the beautiful thing, especially about when you go to, I know Whorehound does this, Days of the Dead. It's a film festival in an actual convention, right? Because a lot of film festivals you go to, it's like the podcasting joke, right? That how we hang out with friends now is we just record it and call it podcast, right? And we only listen to each other's shit. It feels that way sometimes at festivals, right? You're meeting a lot of other people that are where you are, doing what you do. We're all cheerleading each other, and it's great to meet those connections professionally. I think the fun is when they're in the conventions. You are just meeting people that are ravenous for horror movies, right? And especially they're really excited, and I love the horror community that they're so pumped up to see guys like us take that step, right? They can meet you and personally invest in you and your journey early. And they're so absolutely supportive. I feel like that's something that's a little slept on, is go to the ones at the conventions too. You might not get to see it in the, baller ass theater, but I think that the fan base being there is a huge bonus that is slept on.
Yeah, I mean, I would take seeing our movie projected on a blow up screen in 720p out of sync, which is how Days loves to do it. No, shout out to Days, they're the best.
Shout out to Days.
that is how they premiere movies. And it's incredible. Like, and the thing is that people will go, you will just see people sneak in there, like just go in and like watch half the movie or something and then go out, and they have other things to do, but they're still interested and they want to help you out. And the other thing is that that community, it's not just that like they want to be there at the beginning of your journey. I think that a lot of the indie stuff, we actually serve a different purpose than big budget Hollywood movies do, which is that we do things that just aren't necessarily right. We do things in a way that feel like, what is this movie doing? Like this is a little unhinged, and you don't get that anywhere else. Like you can't, there isn't that. I think horror, especially, there's a crossover between like the indie horror and the kind of like weird softcore something going on at some of those festivals, where there's just like a seediness about everything that I think a lot of people really enjoy. And it's not necessarily my cup of tea, but I love that is there.
Yeah, you take that polish off. You're not beholden to stakeholders or executives. You can really push the boundaries.
That's the exact strategy for Misfit Parade. That's our whole point of existence.
If you were at Days of the Dead, you might have seen me and a blow-up doll together. These things just happen at conventions. So I wanted to talk about, I think Haunted House of Pancakes is such a fun concept, right? And when you see the poster, and we got to see some props and footage with you when we were at another shoot, a proof of concept shoot with our friend Steve Morris.
Yeah. Who was also our booth mate at
Who was also our booth, right? You meet these people and you build these connections. Yeah. Love Steve. Shouts out Steve. So I wanted to ask you, writer to writer, right? How do you go from something, or like when you come up with an idea, I'm always fascinated talking to other writers, how you go from idea to first draft, right? Is this one of those things you're looking for a title first? What about Haunted House of Pancakes sparked for you? And how did you start that process to get it to a first draft?
I had just come off of a serious film, quote unquote serious film, and looking at the Indiegogo. I mean, it was like I'm very transactional about this. I looked at the Indiegogo and thought, what will excite people? And yes, it was a name. It was, let's get some creature stuff. I had a previous horror food movie. That did pretty well. I mean, that movie was a very fun movie. It had a very troubled production.
Was it Attack of the Killer Donuts? Is that what it was?
Attack of the Killer Donuts, yes.
So I actually saw that movie. My son picked that movie for our horror movie night.
I'm sorry.
Before I ever met you.
Yeah. I
was like, oh my God, it's the food guy.
But I mean, you sometimes accidentally find yourself in a genre, and you can say, yeah, this is stupid. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed writing Donuts, the drafts before things happened. I greatly enjoyed it. And then being able to kind of use it as like, oh, I'm the Donuts guy. Like I can take this poster of a previous work. It had a real release. It had an LA and New York theatrical release. It got worldwide distribution. I can take that and say, hey, I want to do that, but for 1/10 of the price. And and people say, oh, there are enough people that say, okay, sure. So there's like a built-in fan base for things like that, believe it or not. And so we started there, and then at some point we're like, let's make a real movie. Like, let's make a good movie. Let's actually write the hell out of this. Let's come up with a bunch of different exciting creatures that we can show off and put in the trailer, put on the poster, just something that we think will sell, that we are also excited about. So it does come from a calculated position, and I think that most filmmakers should do that. Don't go with just some journal entry that you have about your bad breakup that you're like, no one wants to see this. No one wants to see this melodrama. Make something that is fun, that pinpoints an audience, and you give them every single thing that they want.
Well, that's the independent way, right? I mean, Roger Corman sort of made that like the go-to pre-sales is you have, well, there's that scene in Ed Wood, if you go back even further, where he's like,
study at the feet of the masters. That's what they say.
Yeah. We have the poster already before the screenplay even.
Well, that was a big Canon film thing. Like that is, so I know exactly what you're talking about. My writing partner and I, when we first united, we always joke that all of our scripts end up being about how our dads abandoned us, right? And we have that, like, this was us at one point, an emotional fulcrum point of our life. And we wrote it, and we love that movie, but you're just like, this is not as easy of a sell of demonic pancakes, right?
Well,
how do you keep that energy and that artistic fulfillment? I know that sounds very douchey to say, as you're writing something that feels more calculated.
Well, because I think that we do both of those. Like, I think all of my movies have my daddy issues, and all of my movies have all of that baked into them. And it's just, you find a different wrapper for them.
Yes.
And so with Pancakes, it's a lot of disillusionment with, like, people don't really communicate anymore. You have two people. It's kind of like, it's honestly like a romantic comedy where the main two characters are stuck in this small space together, and they are infatuated with each other in various ways. But one is in her laptop with earbuds in, and the other is a server and doesn't think that he's communicating with her. And they both keep looking at each other and missing each other. And they need something to break them from these devices and these things that they have in order to make that connection. And it just so happens to be killer food. And so, like, finding ways to kind of weave in things that you're really thinking about into these genre narratives is what's interesting to me. And I think that you can have a lot of fun with it. That's not in, like, the elevated horror way that, like, A24 movies do, where they're like, this is about
your trauma was a monster. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, which seems,
what if the monster was just a fucking monster?
Right. What if it's just a monster, but that's enough to shake you out of your mundane life and be like, that's a monster. I saw what are we doing?
A really fascinating clip with Jason Segel, right? And he was talking about writing Saving Sarah Marshall. And he was talking about, in his writing process, Judd Apatow gave him great advice, which was, don't try to write a funny comedy. Yeah. He's like, write the drama, and because of who you are and your point of view, it will inherently be weird and funny. Make sure the drama works, and then use the genre as that, a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down element, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is, because we always do that too. We spend a lot of time focusing on the emotional path of our characters, right? We try to build in a lot of, that kind of pathos before you put a giant dick in your movie, right?
Yeah.
And it is, we always laugh. We're like, guys, no one's going to get to all this stuff that we think is important because the giant dick is the star. But I do think that you can do a lot more in these movies to tell a deeper story than people often realize.
Yeah. And I think that's, like, the promise of these movies. And I think it's also where you do have, like, people have their failures. Like, there are definitely independent movies that I see that I think, this is a rehash. This is a pure...
They were skipping steps. They were not building that foundation,
Yeah, and that is even more confusing to me because of all the work that we have to put in. So if you're going to wear a million hats, if you're going to spend a year of your life on these movies, you absolutely need to make sure that it is going to carry you through that year, and there's enough meat there, and you are actually doing something that entertains and excites you. If you are making just like a Friday the 13th fan film or something, oh shit, I shouldn't say that because we have friends that do that. But
I think he's fine. I think he makes a lot more money.
I think he makes a lot more money than any of us.
Perfectly
forget him. Let's tear him down. No, but like actually, that's artfully done. I watched another bad one. But if you're making those and you're just like, I like these movies, that's like a good place to start. That's a good place to learn how to do filmmaking. But if you're then expanding those into like, now I'm going to continue the franchise, it's like, well, maybe your time is better spent on IP that will make you money and that you can, kind of actually show people and release.
Yeah. Especially that the page can be a very lonely, dark, searching soul time. I'm always fascinated in the people that just rough this shit out and are not invested in it. That's a skill that I have not learned yet. This is actually an interesting point to ask you. I thought you'd be a great guy to ask about this. So you work a lot in the indie community, right? You wear a lot of different hats and do a lot of different roles. What is some advice you can give people on perhaps difficult collaborators, right? When you're taking these roles and maybe it's not a big money check and things are a little tough, right? How do you weather the ups and downs of these low budget relationships?
Well, so I came from, and you were too, we were both in Hollywood, we were both working in LA. And when you do that, if you work for like a manager or something, because I worked for I worked on the soap opera doing writing. I worked for a management company for a while, hired like with lit people. And you can spend 20 years on something and someone will look at it and like first 2 pages be like, nope, and just pass it on. So like the ideas are not, no one's idea is perfect. Right. Mm-hmm. And I feel like when you have a collaborator that you are talking to and they're a cool person, you like them, their idea sounds pretty good. And then you see that first draft or something, you're like, oh, I have some notes. I have some ideas. You can gauge right then, that moment, depending on how they react to that, whether that is going to be a collaboration you could continue with, or if you should just say, I wish you the best of luck. I'm out. Like, let me know if you need me to read another draft at some point, but I'm good. Because those difficult relationships, especially with people who think that whatever I jotted down here is perfect and nothing can change, and let's not think about any other ideas, anything like that. I think you just have to walk from those situations and say, well, best of luck. Let me know if I can help at any point. So choosing your collaborators, choosing what you want to spend your time with, because all of this there is no big bucks in anything. And we actually have a friend who I think is going through this right now, who has got themselves into something, and the promise of it is so good, and just every warning sign is going off. And you like my advice to him is walk. Like you should just walk away from this. But there's like this idea that no, I'll just bear with it, and
you don't want to be labeled a quitter or difficult yourself.
Yeah, right? But that's going to be a year plus of your time. And the truth is, if you do anything to change it, if you do anything, they will hate you because of it, and you will never be regarded in a good light, no matter what you do. If people just are resistant to your ideas, walk away, because they're going to always hate you, no matter at some point.
Walk away.
Yeah, exactly.
I think a lot of it is that, like, we talked a lot already about all these connections and networks. It is, I think people are so worried reputationally about what these things mean. And again, I think you're right on it, right? Like, make the hard choice earlier.
Yeah.
Rather than waiting it out and then doing it near the end. That's going to feel worse to everyone, right? Like, sometimes you just have to make a better educated guess right away. And I agree with that. I think you can really kind of feel when you're meeting people how you gel at a personality level even. And it is insane how often we just ignore red flags for the promise of work. I think it's one of the hard things about indie films is every project feels like this scratcher ticket, right? And we're like, this is the one. This is and it's like, do you know how scratcher tickets work? It's probably not. Like, you'll be all right.
And I mean, like, on top of that, if you just want some credits, everyone has some credits now. Like, credits are being handed out, just they're for free. You want a credit, it's for free. It means nothing.
That's how people get you to work for free, is they offer you the glorious credit.
You're an associate producer now. It's like, what does that mean? It's like, I don't know.
It means I had $100 and I logged into Indiegogo. Yeah. That's what that means.
But that's where we're very we kind of tiered our things, and we've sold credits. I'm not even gonna I sold credits.
You sell credits. You can sell rolls now. Like, that is how the cakes are made today.
We sold people getting killed. But the thing is, all of those help us. Like, we don't get the movie made without that.
Absolutely.
So if this is a thing that you want, be a part of this journey. And also, like, it's honestly just like an open communication to me and to anyone. Like, honestly, someone who became wanted to get killed by food. This guy named Michael Natoli, who was awesome. He showed up. We put him in. He was basically an extra that we got to put in makeup for the entire day. Killed him. He was really cool. Like, we had a fun performance with him. And then later he's like, "Oh, I'll also do like editing stuff on the side if you need any help." And we had the trailer. We were editing the movie, but we were like, "You want to take a pass at the trailer? Like, here's the footage." And brought him in. And so now he's kind of getting like, he moved from being a feature kill to being like an assistant editor and working on the trailer. And that has happened like 5 or 6 times in different ways with this movie. That's incredible. Like, that is a benefit,
a beautiful thing,
and that is a help to us. So if you want to get involved with things, there's so many ways to get involved like that. And honestly, you wouldn't even really need to pay if you just messaged me and said, "Hey, can I will travel. I will do board, whatever, but can I just be in it?"
You can be the guy handing out the call girl cards for the legendary Nathan Dalton with an email.
Yeah, I mean, if someone got that and I showed up to their hotel room, they'd probably be very disappointed. But
like, you already paid, brother.
Like, you already paid. Me.
What are we doing here?
You want
This is your dime, dude. All right, so on that note of community building in this, I want to talk about, so you moved into, if I'm not mistaken, Haunted House of Pancakes is your first director gig, right, on a feature?
Yes, yeah.
What about this idea? Was this the idea the whole time, was to write this to be something you directed? Why is this the one that now you felt ready to jump in the director's seat? Because
I'd been writer, producer on so many other ones that this one felt like, when it depends on how your guys' sets are, but on movies where I have been writer, yeah, perfect, where I've been writer, producer, and then we've had a director come on, I know that story front and back. I know how I want it to be exactly. I'm hiring everyone. I am getting all the locations. I'm doing every single thing imaginable, and also as the VFX person on it, I'm planning all of the pre-planning all the shots, doing everything like that. And so at some point, it's just like, you have a person come in who's like, "Well, I don't really understand this. Why is this happening?" And you're like, "Dude, it's easy. It's just this person comes in, does this, blah, blah, blah." And you realize that you're like shadow directing. And so
if I'm adding all this work explaining to you, is it less work for me to just do it?
and then quite honestly, it's just another paycheck, or it's just another person that you don't have to pay. So on Pancakes, I am the producer, writer, director, VFX artist, editor, color corrector, did pretty much everything, except for sound. Anything in post that's not sound. And then we had an amazing DP come in, John, who did Final Summer, shot the hell out of the movie. It looks incredible.
It really does.
And so, this is just part of the doing every single thing and not having another person to argue with, which might be like putting blinders on. But I think especially at this budget range, you can't, it's not like you
the
don't
most important goal is to keep the fucking train moving forward. That's the whole thing at this budget.
It's not like we have options. It's not like, but I envision this like this. It doesn't matter what I envision.
Which luxurious set of costumes do you want?
I've got $1. What can we
spend money on extra costumes? What the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. We did actually have a couple costume issues, but hey, and that was me. And I was ordering all the costumes off of Amazon.
Praying that they fit.
Guns. Yeah. So I didn't have the location secured until like 3 weeks before we started shooting.
Okay. So how how the fuck do you keep all this straight in your head? How do you balance your kind of artistic goals for this as your directorial debut, something you wrote and are really invested in, with all of the fucking work and hats that you're doing at all times? How do you juggle all of that? Do you have a process for that, or is it just grab your ankles and pray?
A lot of grabbing ankles. Yeah. I mean, so so Donuts was actually a Corman, started as a Corman movie. And Steve Goldenberg, who was the original director on that movie, we had done a lot of things previously, and his mentor was this guy named Jim Wynorski, who did like Chopping Mall and a bunch of just a ton of like low budget movies, and Roger Corman. So that is kind of in me, like mainly from seeing Steve work, but just being like showing up at a place and like being like, well, we can set up here and do all of these shots. And then after that's done, we're really just going to spin the camera around and then just move the lights a little bit and then do all of these shots. Mm-hmm. So just finding a way to schedule everything together so that you're really knocking out everything in a smart way. And so that was kind of the key, was just getting actor schedules all together and then making sure that we did everything in a logical way where we didn't have to pay a person for an extra day ever. Like that was the way to do it. And then if we
those
did not
things add up so fast in ways that you don't appreciate until you're on your own set doing all that stuff.
Well, yeah, and it also means that there is no room for error. Like if it rains,
so that's a great thing I want to hone in on. Do you have some kind of like fail-safe plan for when the calamity does emerge? Because I would imagine most sets you have, if you're lucky, one calamity. Usually every day is a series of small calamities.
Yeah, that's
do you have a process, or is this just something that you put so much work in beforehand? How do you prepare for the inevitable explosion?
I think it's like having a tolerance, like a slight tolerance for most days where you have like a little bit of slippage, where if we're not here when we want to be here, then we really need to figure out the second half of the day. And if the second half of the day is going to push things, we need to figure out what it's going to push and then where we can slot that in later in the schedule. And then just really form those like red lines where you're like, well, this person flies out the next day, so we need to get every single thing with them. And we actually did have a major calamity, which was that we had this giant creature, which is like the star of the show, the behemoth, who is just this 7-foot tall creature that has a giant waffle iron head and is jacked. Is just like this jacked creature with waffle
surprisingly
waffle.
Beefy, being made out of pancake batter. Yeah,
exactly. Just this giant waffle creature. Just sexy creature.
Waffles did not do that to my body. I felt that was a fail of your movie. Yeah.
you need to glue them. You need to glue them onto the outside.
That's right. I've been doing it wrong.
So we had an actor that had the cannibal comedian. Aaron.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude.
So Aaron, who's incredible, Aaron gets killed by this. You know what? I'm going to ruin my movie. He gets killed by this creature, and we planned for this day. We were setting up, but then day of, the creature is not ready, and just like not ready, and like not just. It's not ready. Like it is not ready. Like it has not come to. You can't even put a camera on it.
This isn't like throw some paint on it and pray, water it down. It's not there.
It's not there. It's just at 100% not there. And this is on a Saturday, so we're shooting on a Saturday. This is Aaron's last day. He flies out on Sunday. It's not there, and he gets killed by this creature and has multiple interactions with this creature. So we put a guy in a green screen or in a green suit. And say, we'll just get the shots and shoot around it, and we'll hope, fingers crossed, there'll be something on Monday, and we can.
This will be a future Nathan's problem.
Yeah, and when I say we were doing this, I mean it was like, oh, this entire movie is ruined. Like, this is not happening. And then on Monday, I show up, and Nathaniel Barton, my VFX guy, my practical effects guy, had spent Sunday all day making something, and I saw this suit in real, like I walked in the door, saw the suit, saw him standing 7 feet tall, looking amazing. And it was just like, honestly, I don't even care. Like this, as long as we get a camera on this thing, it's going to be incredible. And we shot, and I think it wasn't until editing, when we put everything together, that it was like, this is going to work. Like we somehow our ripcord emergency plan of shooting reverse shots and having someone get killed with this giant thing that was just never there. On top of that, this was one of the days where we had a bunch of the Indiegogo people show up, and different people showed up on Saturday versus Monday. We had a different group of people, but we convinced a couple of them that were just like awesome people to just stay. It's like, guys, we just like hang out until Monday just so we can have a couple crossovers. Yeah. And they did. And I swear in the edit, like I can't even tell, like if I frame by frame, if I went to a shot and it's like Monday.
Yeah. I'll take
Saturday.
Notes so I can leave shitty YouTube comments. For
Yeah, no, that's the best. I love that.
One of the just guys a recreational thing I do. It's no big deal.
So Jeremy Sandor, one of the guys, he came back to me like I think the end of the day, and he's like, I'm very sorry. Like I have bad news. Like it looked like he had killed someone. And I'm like, dude, what is it? He's like, I only realized this later on, but on Sunday, I rolled my sleeves up, and on Monday, my sleeves were down. And I'm like, dude, like, I don't.
We have bigger problems than fucking continuity, my man.
No, are you kidding me?
Dude, we see shit like that all the time after, and we get like, no, how did we mess that up? A door's open that shouldn't have been. Like, did they walk past? You're thinking of geography, right?
Yeah.
You show it to like your mom, and she's just like, that was great. That's so good.
I would actually say no one knows. No one knows, except that there is like a cottage industry of people out there that like that is like the only reason that they watch movies. Like continuity error. That's
the world is full of cunts. It's an absolute sad reality. I
love them. I mean, that is great because they're just like frame peeking. They're just like looking at every corner.
I mean, it's like, thank you for watching, but is this who you like wanted to be when you grew up? When we were in kindergarten, and it's like, I said I wanted to be Optimus Prime. Did you say I want to go destroy people who are making something with less? Is that who you wanted to be?
I think you need that negativity out there, or else I think you really.
We're learning a lot about you. So you like to be nagged a lot. This is
I do, yeah, because like a part of me is doing that all the time. Where
you're like that dude in the Da Vinci Code, just like
self-flagellation. Yeah,
right. You just read the bad comments, and you're just in heaven. That's fun.
I love it.
Yeah. Hell,
I mean, that's what I did for every movie that I've ever released. What I do is I would go on Twitter. I guess I won't be going on Twitter anymore, but I would get all of the reviews, and I would just find either the worst or the funniest comment, and I would repost those. So please bring the negative reviews my way, because I love it. I mean,
you're summoning them
really
forth.
Do.
Yeah,
yeah, bring it.
All right, so back to a writer question. Now that we've got deep on that, how do you balance horror comedy? It's something that I'm not a huge fan of horror comedy all the time. It's something I found myself writing a lot. How do you try to balance the both? Because I feel like a lot of the horror comedies you see that don't work, they're never funny, nor do they really scratch that horror itch.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a hard balancing act at times. How do you approach that problem?
For me specifically, I like to actually lean away from the comedy. So I like the situation to be ridiculous, but for the people in that situation to treat it as their reality. I think when you break with it, like there are a couple lines in Pancakes that when I hear it, I'm like, it's a little like Buffy jokey. Like it's a little, it's that like Marvel, like we're so disaffected. And
Joss Whedon flavor, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I grew up on that, so I do love me some Buffy, but I don't like that when I see it in movies anymore. So for me, I really do like to lean into the horror and the surreal aspect of everything, and to just kind of let the humor be based on the ridiculousness of the situation and what they're dealing with. Like there is a point in this movie where, a girl runs out and tries to get a police officer's attention and says, please, you have to help. My friends are being held inside by there's a demonic waffle maker that's trying to take over the world. You need to help us now. And he just kind of looks at her. It's like, are you on that reefer? Like, are you okay? And just playing it straight, like her playing it straight and getting through those lines without tipping your hat to like, this is funny. This is just the reality that she's been dealing with. Like, this has been like threaded out, and you believe where she's at in this journey, and it's not just like a joke. Because I think if you do a joke, especially with the budgets that we have, I mean, I'm trying to like dance around something, but sometimes things just aren't as funny as people think they are. Or I've been on a lot of indie sets where people are like, oh, say this joke or do this that's like an inside joke, or it's insular to some world, and it just doesn't play. And you're much better just existing in the reality of your characters and letting the humor come from that.
Yeah, and it's one of those, you don't always have a bunch of takes to try different ways to deliver the joke. You got to get it when you get it.
You never have enough takes.
I was also dance around. You literally never have time for extra fucking takes. Yeah. But again, I think that's we try to talk about that too with, actors in this. Play it razor straight.
Yes.
And let the comedy go. I feel like when you turn and like wink to the audience, they're like, yeah, we know. We know. We bought the ticket. We're here. It just feels like that doesn't work often. Okay, so on that note of directing, right? What kind of filmmaker are you hoping to be? What are you working at right now? Do you have new stuff you're working on? What is the path? Is it just all food trilogy? Is this like the Lars von Trier Earth trilogy? What are we doing here?
No, absolutely not. I would say the next thing I do will not be food related. I would like to go for something else. And then when that thing spectacularly fails, I have food to fall back on.
The classic cash-in move, yes.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I'll try to expand. I will always try to expand. And when that comes crashing down, I retreat and say, hey, here's another one. Eat it up.
Have you ever been afraid of a carrot? No. Do you have, when you were directing and this and that, did you have kind of goals for yourself as a director? Do you have goals and things you're trying to plant in the ground on that level, or is it more just part of the overall process for you?
I think it's part of the process, again, because having gone through this so many times, I think that there is like mythologizing about directors that is
absolutely
not true.
Heath, you can go ahead and mute. We're going to talk about director now. I see the point of a person who steers the ship. Like that is, and we had some issues on our set too, just with like, we had, let's say, a few directors. When you call in friends or favors from friends who are also directors, they want to direct. And at some point you do realize that like, oh, actually, two directors is a bad thing. Like having two directors is a bad thing. It is much better to have a singular voice making decisions, but then to have these other people who can be like, okay, I know what they're going for. I will kind of synthesize that, or I will do that through my process. Right.
So having that person that is like, this is the style, this is the tone, this is what I want to see out of this. And then sometimes the other people can show you something and you're like, yes, that works better. Like being nimble and not being like, this is distinctly my vision and it has to be like this. Being nimble and saying, yeah, actually this works better than what I had. And so let's
fostering that creative back and forth while still keeping a voice to unify everything. I think it's one of those, like in film school, we're all like, no one goes to film school. Like when you're in your first day of class, no one's like, I'm here to be a gaffer, right? Everyone's a writer director.
Yeah, but they should be. I mean, like that's.
Dude, I'm telling you, I always think if I went back to film school, I would only learn sound and lighting.
Yeah,
and I would have just worked forever.
I think being a sound person, being either having sound or Steadicam op, because if you are a Steadicam op, like people need you, because no matter what we think in our indie world, putting some like when we shot on Reds, but the most indie productions are a Blackmagic Pocket on a gimbal and like that that's okay. You know, like that's fine. But if you want that step up work, if you want to get real money, because let's face it, what we just described does not pay. If you want to get real money in the film industry, especially on like $500,000 movies, Steadicam op. Be a Steadicam op because you can charge $3,000 a day, and you will always have work. And that's like, because I've had to hire Steadicam ops, and they've just been like, yeah, my rate's 3,000, 3,500.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's
being on set where you will learn a lot of those tools and skills that you want when you tell your own stories, right?
So it's like if you have a specialized job that puts you on set that people actually want and are willing to pay for, like they have no other option. It's not just someone who says, well, I have a camera, because like anyone can get a camera. Like I have some lights. Like again, anyone can get some lights. I'm a Steadicam. I'm a Steadicam op, or I'm a sound person. Then you can kind of dictate whatever you want. So that would be don't direct, don't write. Be a Steadicam.
Throw that auteur theory in the fucking trash, kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get a specialized field skill. Okay, this is just a hypothesis, but if you took out resources, right? If Hollywood came to you and said, Nathan, House of Pancakes is a just undeniable tour de force. You've made your millions. What's next for you? We'll pay for anything, any IP, any movie. What would be your dream project?
Oh, man. You know what? I don't think I work like that. I don't think I have no idea. I have no idea. Actually, no, you know what? I have plenty of scripts that I have that, you know, when in Hollywood, when our manager was sending us to a bunch of different couches to pitch to people who went.
Okay, I was wondering where that sentence was going. I was
got
like,
anything?
Good God.
Well, I mean, then after
once I cleaned myself up,
they closed the door and locked it.
It was a darker time.
It was the Weinstein meeting.
But, hey,
that's how you get that pancake,
unfortunately. No. Like there are plenty of things that we've pitched that I would love to make, that I would love to return to and do. That just people say, hey, there's no interest in this, or like we're not willing to back this. Where I'm like, this still resonates with me. I still want to see this. So I think more, it's like going into the back catalog. If I actually had money to make something, I would make some of those things that I've written that I actually do feel proud of and want to share with the world. So that would be it. It would be like, I would just totally look backwards.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? We get that answer a shocking amount. I'm always thinking someone's going to be like, Pumpkinhead, something like most people that we meet who are doing what we're doing. It's always that, I got shit I want to tell, dude. I don't want to redo someone else's thing.
I mean, the fun, that's like if someone came and had an infinite bag of money and it's like, all right, I'll do one of these. But if it was just like, there are plenty of movies that I think it would be fun to reconceptualize. Like I really liked Saw X, the 10th one or whatever, where like I'm not even sure how it fits into anything. It's just like about the guy who gets like screwed over and then he takes revenge on. It's just like it's a weird movie. It's like this is such an off kilter way of approaching the subject. I like movies like that kind of take a well-known franchise or property and then subvert it in some way, and at the end still deliver exactly what the genre fans want out of it. They just got it in a completely repackaged different way. I love little tests like that, and that would be fun, and that would just be fun to be given a property and told, hey, turn this into something new, and then just find like a clever way into it. Like that appeals to me. It doesn't really matter what it would be.
All the classic, best known remakes have done that. When you go back to The Thing or The Fly, or I'm trying to think of any modern examples. I mean, the ones that feel
the
like
Evil Dead reboot remake, that was a great one.
That was a good example. The ones that aren't as successful are like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, maybe, where you're basically doing the exact same story.
What if we just get a hotter lady, and you're like, I'm listening, like Dr. Fraser Crane, I'm listening. All right, final question.
Was that Jessica Biel?
Yeah. I think that's what we all remember from that movie, right? It was just the wife beater doing work.
The tank top, yeah.
Oh, I forgot. We're not supposed to say that anymore. See, I'm old.
So wait,
I'm showing my age.
That was a good movie, right? Is that what you're saying?
I enjoyed it. 16-year-old me got exactly what I bought the ticket for. All right, final question. What is a resource or tool about filmmaking that you would offer to someone who is starting their journey on this field? Is there something like a book? Is there a documentary? Is there something that you like that you feel like could help someone out on the start of their process?
I think that reaching out to people directly and asking if they can help in any way, like just going on Indiegogo, just going on Facebook or Instagram or wherever people are, Blue Sky now, and just being in those and asking people like, hey, can I help? I mean, like, it sounds so stupid, but if someone just reached out and was like, can I help? I'd be like, well, we're shooting here, doing this now.
Yeah.
Like, then they're just like, I'll just show up, and you're close enough to me that I can come and hang out and help. Yeah, I mean, like the truth is that there are so many of these like independent productions happening now, and everyone is so open and so it's so easy to get in touch with people that just start communicating with people and asking, what can I do? Do you need any help in this department? Do you need anything? You cannot expect to get paid. You cannot expect anything out of it. But the truth is, if you show up and you're just like, I'm just going to be a PA. Well, guess what? You quickly climb from being a PA to being like, well, can you just like be a can you be like an actor in this? Can you go, well, oh my God. You were just showed up and you're an actor in She Knows. You're the bartender who has like literally the best line in the entire thing. You might be the only survivor who's just like, oh, the hell with this.
I brought a real intellect to the role, but again, the best ability is availability. And I always say, if you just show up, and again, you really hit it specifically the way I would pitch people to. Show up, leave all your fucking ego at the door, just be available. If someone's doing something, jump in, help them. Carry shit, right? Oh, you're moving lights? While you're there, they'll tell you what the buttons do, why they're aiming it, where they're aiming it, right? Like, people are happy to help you if you are helpful there, right? So, don't jump in and tell them how you would do it. Just fucking be helpful, be present.
So we had that, just very, very briefly, we had that on my shoot. I had hired a couple people I had hired a couple. One was going to be our scripty, and the other was just going to be a general floater PA. But he had done camera work, and he was wondering if he could work with the camera department. And it was like, I'm not going to speak for them, but you can just be available to anyone. He shows up. Day 2, he's working as a second AC. For the camera department. And then from then on, he's slating everything. He's on the he's like adjusting stuff. He's in the camera department. And by the end of that shoot, he went from, he bought himself a red Komodo.
There you go.
And he's like, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to offer my services whenever. And it's like, dude, that is incredible. So
he showed up with a goal.
Yes.
He met people. He probably learned a lot. He's on his path now.
And like within we shot for 16 days. So in our 16-day span of time, he reached his first, he got his first goal. His goal was to get near the camera. Day 2, he was already in the camera department, and then just worked up within the camera department from there. And it's just, that just happens anywhere on any of these indie sets that I see, and you have to do that.
You have to do that. All right, Heath, do you have anything before we wrap up here?
Let's see. Overall, I just thought it was a really great conversation about the practicalities of low budget filmmaking. I mean, this is the kind of stuff I always appreciate talking to you, Nathan, because a lot of people will kind of glide over all the really in the trenches details, and you're not afraid to talk about that. I think that's always refreshing and eye-opening. And as someone who's trying to do the same thing, I think you're always someone that I appreciate talking to, because you don't mince words, and you say it like it is.
Steve told me that. No, I don't know. I don't feel that way, but Steve's like, man, you just say whatever you think. It's like, do I? I'm not very aware.
Well, a lot of people are.
I think
trying
people
to
like you aren't. That's your great gift.
you don't posture. You don't try to present yourself in a certain way, or even just like kind of the feelings about auteur theory. You're not precious like that. I think that's so refreshing. No, I mean, you're right. Every film student wants to be the next, Darren Aronofsky or the Tarantino or whatever, and who doesn't? But I mean, when you're working at this level, that's just not practical. You have to get it done, and you're a very practical filmmaker, which I love. Let's see, what else? I really liked the comments about finding deeper meaning when you're writing, and a silly idea on the surface. Like, I was thinking of Jurassic Park is just a monster movie, right? But it's just like chock full of these really heady ideas. But it's a movie about dinosaurs.
Yeah, a guy gets eaten on the shitter, dude.
Yeah. So exactly. So we've referenced, I mean, while making pancakes, our references are wide too. Like we have a couple Jurassic Park references. We have a toilet that eats a person. That's it. We have a toilet. A person does the exact Jurassic Park fall onto a toilet, but then the toilet eats them.
Yeah.
So
the world is full of jaws waiting to chew you up, my man.
And at the same time, we have we have references to like Irreversible in the French movies.
I'm not going to be able to stop thinking about Irreversible with breakfast pastry.
If the fire hydrant scene from Irreversible is fully represented in the movie with the music to accompany it. So I mean, like, we take from a lot of. Or I like to take from a lot of different places, but it's with the understanding that you're making a fun food horror movie.
I think the last question I wanted to ask, and this circles back to something that you mentioned earlier about handing out the cards at the conventions, and having that elevator pitch ready. I mean, that's a level of hustle that I think most low budget independent filmmakers aren't prepared to deal with when they get into it. They want to tell the stories, they want their vision to be fulfilled, but that's the real kind of elbow grease that makes you get to make your next movie. I'm just curious, how did you just always have that hustle spirit, or did you have to learn that?
I mean, that's a lot of the untoward couch conversations that we would have with people. I mean, you have to know that you're going into a room and you're going to chit chat. It's the small talk at the beginning. And at some point they just look at you and they go like, what are you here for? Like, what do you have for me? And you kind of have to, I would go with Nikki. I think you guys met Nikki McElroy. I don't know, or maybe she was at Indy. I don't know. But we would go in and we would pitch together. And we just had like our routines down, and we knew what we were going to say, and we executed it because honestly, we're telling people that we're storytellers and that we're going to tell a fun story, and that you should trust us and give us money to tell this story. And if you can't tell the story, like if you're not telling people what the story is, or you don't sound like you're a storyteller, or you don't sound like you would be able to control a set, no one's going to believe you. So I think even if you're nervous about it, even if you don't want to do it, you have to get out there and just be like, hey, give me money. Give me money for this thing. And, you can, there are ways that people do that are annoying. I think that it's less served when you're just sending a lot of Facebook posts about give us money. Hey, give us money. Hey, this thing still exists. Give us money. And it's much more effective in the festivals when you're person on person and you're just like, hey, we're trying to do this. Look at these things that we've made. Like, let me tell you about my previous movie. Let me tell you about this. Let me just talking to people, and every person you talk to is either a point of sale or they're going to mention it to someone else and spread the word. And I feel like if you're not able to do those things, you need to partner with someone who is.
Right. A lot of people, I think, shy away from that, like, self-promoter thing. It doesn't make you feel like a tortured artist. but that's the fucking game.
Yeah.
That really is the whole game.
And I'll pinpoint Steve again. Like, I think that Steve is not necessarily the best salesman in the world. Like, he's not like, you know, he's not that guy, you know, like, he's not that guy that's going to go out and like, let me tell you about this. Let me pitch this to you. He's a little more reserved, but he surrounds himself with so many people that support his vision and are out there hustling for him. Because they trust him and they trust what he's going to do. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that you don't have to be me. You don't have to be, you know, the annoying pitch person, me. You can be Steve and recognize that is not what you do best, and just surround yourself with people who do that for you, as long as they trust you and they trust your vision.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. Do you want to tell everyone where they can find you online one more time here at the end?
I'm on the internet. I'm on Facebook. I feel like is where most indie filmmakers hang out for some reason. So I'm on Facebook. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on Twitter still. I'm lots of places. Come find me, Nathan Dalton. Look me. I'm easy to connect with. And if you have any questions, anything you want to tell me, you hate my movies, by all means.
He especially wants those comments.
Yeah,
that's especially
please,
what he's looking for.
Haters out there, please just make me feel something.
And Nathan, when do we get to see Haunted House of Pancakes? Any update?
Very soon. I am waiting for the score is going to be done second week of December, I am told.
Nice, dude.
And everything else should really just be finished after that. I mean, that's it. That's what we're waiting for.
That's amazing. Yeah, feel free to bring it back on the show, man. We'll just talk about Haunted House of Pancakes next time.
Oh, you want me to shamelessly promote something? Yeah, I'll be there.
See, this is what it is. Find naive rubes, a podcast host, and milk them for the airways. All right, thanks, man. We will see you guys all next week with 3 new episodes.